Dear Melissa, I imagine there's no golden ratio of product engineering and UX. There may be different ratios for different products or desired outcomes. However, do you have a sense of ranges where you've seen the best generated outcomes? Or is there a way that you would recommend thinking through this? I found moving and learning fast is only possible when we have the right team in place to focus on the important areas of discovery, and an imbalanced team can create barriers to progress and morale. Well, that's certainly true. When you don't have the right size team, it can definitely cause a lot of different issues. So we want to make sure that we get that right in product development for sure. So when I think about structuring teams for product development, there's a couple different factors that you need to look at. One, are we in discovery or are we in delivery? For things like a new product, you want to keep the team small. You usually are going to have a product person, a UX person, an engineering lead involved in it. And then as you start to build or you're testing, you might have one or two developers involved if you're building out code. The smaller that team is, the more you can actually iterate. So when I was leading teams that were doing a lot of experimentation, we actually had two engineers, me, and I was a hybrid product and UX person. That allowed us to get really tight on what we were doing, iterate very quickly, and we weren't building gigantic feature sets. So it allowed us to get things out the door very quickly and just test the waters and see, what was actually working. Once you have a defined product vision and you've done those tests, that's where you have to expand the team. And this is where we would look at bringing in more people, balanced in a balanced way, to actually execute. So if you don't have a product vision and you don't have product market fit, you want to keep teams smaller so that you can iterate quickly. The more you actually add people, the slower you will go. That is true for all companies. It's true for all product teams. So if you have 10 engineers, one product person, and one UX person, you better have a really solid product vision and a lot of work to actually be done. I would never go over 10 engineers per one product person. Ideally, you want about 6 engineers per product person. Now, you can do 10 if you have a giant backlog, a really developed vision, and you've got to build a lot of stuff up front. Sometimes you could do 10, start to split that work and get that first thing out there. I've seen that work, and that's totally fine, but I really wouldn't go over that amount of people. Uh, UX designer is usually one UX designer to one product manager. That's the ratio that we see work. With engineers, again, it really goes for what stage of the product you're in. Now, if you are working with an engineering team, let's say of 6 product managers, and they're working on things and you need to go into discovery mode to figure out what's next, you're probably going to be working with that engineering lead, your UX designer, and yourself as a product manager. And then you're going to pull the engineers in once they're finishing the stuff that's already in progress and once you're defining what that product vision is going to be and that you're actually building it. So it definitely flexes depending on what you're working on and what the context is. If you are doing back-end stuff, of course, you're not going to have a UX designer. If you're doing like API things or other stuff like that, you're not going to have a UX designer. You may need data people on your team, depending on what you're doing with data. Sometimes we see data engineers pair with product managers or with product teams to help get the right information back out and help inform the team on what to do. Some teams are structured like that, or you might have a data person that's aligned to a couple different product teams. That really just depends on what kind of instrumentation you have in the company and what's going to work for you. So no, there's no hard and fast rule for what works. It's really about how fast you need to go, how much work needs to get done, and what stage you're in. And then the context of the product, whether UX is really important for it or if it's a back end thing. So that's how I would think about structuring teams, but it's definitely flexing around that product lifecycle.